Welcome to Boomer Being. Every meal is an opportunity to rethink your plate. With us today is Eileen Webster, healthy eating specialist with Whole Food Market, Andover. If you're watching today, you're in luck. Eileen is going to give us lots of pointers for rethinking your plate, ramping up the nourishment with every meal. Welcome, Eileen.
Thanks, Leslie. It's great to be back here and here representing Whole Foods Market in Andover. So today's going to be an opportunity to really just look through some typical breakfasts, lunches, and dinner, and just look at ways that we can take each of them and make them even more nourishing for our body. So the first step in nourishment is just eating. Sounds silly and basic, but a lot of people skip breakfast, so really that old adage, have some breakfast, it's really important, really holds true. So we're going to start with breakfast and really eating and focusing on eating real food. So we'll talk about that as we go through a number of examples, and feel free to ask me any questions because I'm sure your viewers are going to be thinking the same ones.
Thank you.
So we have two different breakfasts. One is cereals of all kinds can be a breakfast, and we don't have enough time to go through all the plethora of types of cereals that are out there. But the best choice is to think about a cereal that is as whole grain and simple as possible. But mornings have to kind of move quickly for many people. So an instant oatmeal is often a choice that many people will make because oats are a whole grain, and we know that's something that will be good for us. So there's so many different instant oatmeals. This is just one. This is an apple cinnamon. I didn't prepare it just so that everyone would kind of know this is the instant that comes out of a package.
Now, what about the sugar content in instant oatmeal? Is that something I should be concerned with?
Yeah, and so I want to start by saying today's whole approach and information for the viewers is to say, eat, please eat well. But let's look at how can we eat the best possible. So starting with oatmeal is a great start. Then think about, for a great point, instant oatmeal definitely has more sugar. And that's something that you really have to look at the package and take a look at how many grams of sugar. There really should be 6 or less or none at all. So instant oatmeals will come with sugar of all forms. They may say honey or molasses or sugar itself. So you really want to be aware of that because sugar will be in there and you might add more. So instant oatmeal is quick and easy, but it isn't the best choice because of so much sugar. The better choice is in oatmeal using rolled or old-fashioned oats. Those are the two names you'll most typically see. The oat here has been less processed than the instant. You can really just see that looking at them. This is a much more, you can see the oat. Here it's sort of all chopped up and further processed. So it digests more slowly. And when it digests more slowly, it gives us a more sustained, longer energy, which when you're starting your day out, that's what we want. So rolled or old-fashioned oats are a great start. And these can be instant because if you put some oats in a bowl with some water in your microwave for 2 or 3 minutes, they're cooked. That's pretty instant. And then how do you flavor it up from there? You can, there's so many different things. A few examples. Cinnamon is an excellent thing to add to oatmeal because it helps you to minimize your sugar. It kind of takes some of that craving for sugar away. It's a great flavor and it's a great spice. It's a very health-supporting kind of spice. So cinnamon's a great addition. If you want to add a little bit of sweetener, a honey is a good thing to use. So you can put on a little honey, and if you've got a sweet tooth, start with some, and each day maybe try to reduce it a little bit. It will help your sweet tooth, and there's different types of honey. There's regular pourable. There's even raw honey, which is thicker. If I were to open this, and you can stir it into your oatmeal when it's hot, and it'll just melt in there, and it has even more minerals. But the main idea, there's still sweeteners, and sweeteners are something that really require a lot of awareness on our part. Sugar is everywhere. So wherever you can have a little control over it, it's going to really serve your body well. Sugar is actually, we're talking about nourishment today, and sugar is really an anti-nutrient. Our body doesn't need it, and when we take it in, our body has to work hard to get rid of it. So it's really an anti-nutrient. So keep it sweet, but not too much. So rolled oats would be your next best choice. And then if you really want to make it more nourishing as a breakfast, we can add in a little ground flax meal. Flax meal, if someone has not heard of it, is flax is a seed. You do want it to have it ground up, and you can purchase it that way. We actually have a bag of the flax meal if you want to just kind of point that out. So ground flax meal is your best choice because that way our body can actually use it and ingest it. And it provides more fiber, it provides healthy fats called omega-3s and some more antioxidants. And that healthy fat will again take this bowl of oatmeal and give us even more to go on to really sustain us through our morning.
And I think you can use this in other things like
Absolutely.
salad or...
There's tons of uses, and there's going to be so many things that we want to talk about today. And I may just defer to saying to your viewers to please come to Whole Foods or email me, and I'll be happy to answer more questions that we may not be able to get to today.
Excellent.
You can use flax on a lot of things. So, fruits are great. A chopped apple or some blueberries are wonderful because they're both lower in sugar as fruits go. So you get the fiber and the antioxidants and a little more natural sweetness, but not a big blast of sugar. And lastly, nuts, if you wish to add some nuts of your favorite choice. Walnuts I love because they're never roasted, they're always raw. So all of the healthy fats and fiber are there for your body to just use and be happy about. Your body will be happy when you give it food that it really knows what to do with. So much of the food available to us in our fast-paced world, our body really doesn't recognize. It just doesn't really recognize it. So this is a real bowl of nourishment if it's something you like. Again, other fruits, chopped apples, have fun with it.
Looks delicious.
So that's some oatmeal tips. Kicking it up a little for oatmeal. Now, a lot of us like to go the egg route or have a breakfast where we're picking up something that's made for us out on the road, the drive-through breakfast. And this is just an example of many different ones that are available to us. A breakfast sandwich, many have sausage, some have bacon, this has some ham, egg, cheese, it's a white American cheese, and delicious but totally non-nutritive, sorry to say, croissant. So again, you're eating breakfast, that's excellent. That's the great part. But what can you do to make that breakfast even better for your body to support your health and your energy throughout the day? So we recognize these. Sometimes they come on a white English muffin or in a white wrap, but they're those quick grab and go breakfast sandwiches. And often we grab and go with a coffee as well. Not to say that coffee is a bad thing, it's just how you enjoy it. So coffee again can be a source of lots of sugar and possibly lots of cream. So it's something to rethink when you can. Coffee is fine, but start your day and get some water in there. Our body is dehydrated when we wake up, and water is what it needs. And so start with some water, have some coffee, keep the sugar and cream low or out. So here's a breakfast sandwich. So let's kick it up a little for breakfast. And this, other than the fruit, may not look terribly different, but there are subtle, important differences that you can make that aren't a big deal. So obviously, the beautiful fruit is a great addition, right? This muffin is a whole wheat muffin, so I can't really pick it up now, but you can see. So it's made with whole wheat. Again, depending on where you purchase things, always read the list of ingredients, because even if it says wheat or whole wheat, there can be so many forms of sugar and other things in there that your body doesn't need in a healthy breakfast.
Sure.
So it's a good source. You can ramp up the type of egg that you decide to use, like an omega-3 enriched egg. You can go without the cheese or go with a low-fat organic cheese, because that will actually have dairy in it. Many of the other cheeses are really more like a cheese food product. So there's subtle but important changes to make it even more nourishing and better. And lastly would be another breakfast sandwich example. And again, the fruit. But what we've done here is this muffin is a sprouted grain, whole grain muffin. So it is one where you can really, if you can look closely, you can see the grains in there. They're all sprouted grains, which are, allow our body to really access all the nutrients in there. There's no sugar, there's no oils we don't need. It's really solid, good nutrition. A high quality egg, get some spinach in there, get some color, some tomatoes, and It can still be grab and go. There are ways to do this actually ahead of time. So in the morning, you can just microwave something and off you go. Again, happy to go over that with you if you stop by.
I'm curious about the sprouted muffins. Can you tell us a little bit more about the benefits of sprouted? Does it need to be refrigerated?
It sure does, and that, again, is a great point. Breads like this don't have preservatives, so they need to be. And sprouted grains are really all whole grain, and by starting that germination or sprouting process, it makes all those nutrients in a grain much more what we call bioavailable to the body. It just means our body can use it. Mm-hmm. So there's nothing in here our body can't use. That's the other way I like to think about food. So those are some ways to kind of ramp up your breakfast, and I think...
looks beautiful.
Yeah. And of course, there's many, many others. You can make smoothies and different wraps, and, you know, and breakfast doesn't have to be the typical breakfast foods, but... Okay.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Tell us a little bit about lunch.
Lunch, all righty. Lunch is, again, you know, if you get slumpy in the afternoon, it may be because of what you had for lunch or what you didn't have for lunch. So, again, I'd like to start with, you know, an example of what might be kind of a quick grab-and-go sandwich, typical kind of lunch, a sub sandwich. You can imagine the variety of cold cuts that you could have on here, a white roll, cheese, you know, an iceberg lettuce, tomato, and the always present potato chips, which you can't, you know, they're hard to resist once they're there and you start eating them. Again, it's a very typical lunch, and many people enjoy that, but there are ways to, again, make it something that provides your body with even more nourishment. And so the second example.
Look at the difference.
Yeah. I love color. I think when you see lots of color on your plate, you automatically know there's good stuff there for your body. And of course, color that is natural, not artificial colors. So we took our sandwich and we put it in a whole wheat wrap. And while wraps are not always, don't always have a caloric difference to breads, it depends what you're using. A whole wheat wrap, if you check the ingredients, should be 100% whole grain. It shouldn't have any unhealthful oils in it. And it's just a nice variety. You could also use a sprouted whole grain bread. Yeah, so we do have an example, thanks for pulling that out, of a nice whole wheat tortilla. And again, these are something that you should always buy from a refrigerated section in the store, because if it's on a shelf, that means most likely in the list of ingredients, you're going to find still present some hydrogenated oils. Yeah, which are those trans fats. We all want to avoid those. Clear research supports that. It's a no-no for our bodies. So you do want to know what you're getting. And the whole wheat, you know, again, is a much better choice in terms of giving our body some nutrients over the white. And so what we've changed here, too, is that you've got a more lean turkey as a filling. Avocado is in there instead of mayonnaise. So it's a healthy whole food fat, monounsaturated fats, and good for us. And the greens are a nice mix of dark and red greens. Ah, yes, you noticed my interesting thing on the side here, because we all know carrots and apples, so that's excellent.
I'm dying to know what that is.
Yeah, well, I was trying to think, what's another crunchy, yummy, and the kale chips are a big thing now. You can purchase any number of different varieties of flavors of chips made from kale, which is a dark green leafy vegetable. You can also make kale chips very easily yourself at home. And they can be a wonderful, crunchy, tasty side where you're still getting a lot more nutrients than you would from a deep-fried white potato. And usually, in most cases also, any oil that's used is an oil that's a pretty safe one. Chips, it kind of depends.
I think I'm going to need to taste one.
You're going to have to taste one. And this is a Southwest Ranch flavor. They're all different flavors. So they're crunchy and chewy. And so we're just boosting up the nutrients. We've got more color and greens.
And it's really delicious.
And so option 3, you can see even more colors. And what I did here was swap out, we have grain, white refined flour or grain in this sandwich, a whole wheat grain here. Those are our grain sources. Here our grains jump over to a salad. So this is a salad made with quinoa, which is a grain that's gotten a lot more popularity lately. It's spelled Quinoa, so it does not sound the way it's spelled. And this has more of a southwestern kick to it. You can do lots of things to quinoa. So you've got the whole grain there with beans and vegetables. And I just left this open so you could see what's in the wrap. So I just used a romaine lettuce leaf. and filled it with hummus, which is a nice low-fat source of protein and fiber. And avocado, again, for our healthy fat, some carrots and cucumbers. You could get creative. And there's pre-made broccoli slaw you'll see in the store. It's a great quick filler. You're getting all those cruciferous vegetables and more colors. So you just layer, and you just roll it up like you would making a wrap sandwich, and that replaces your bread wrap as just one more alternative.
And the caloric difference, is it enormous?
You know, I really like to think about something a term we use called nutrient density. So it's more what nutrients are you getting for your calories that you're taking in. So even, just as an example, and I don't have a caloric measure on either of these, but let's just hypothetically say each of these are the same calorically. It's really clear to see that you're giving your body a whole lot more nutrients that it can really run on and thrive on compared to something on this side. So
it is obvious.
Calories are something to play with, but and think about and be aware of. But I really want to encourage people to think about nutrients. That's what really fires our system, keeps us healthy and avoiding disease and just feeling good every day. So go for the color. So these are a few of the lunches.
Quick question also, there's no cheese on the healthy option number 3?
Right. It's just a source of saturated fat. Saturated fat is not bad. You just have to choose when you're having your saturated fat, be kind of aware of where it comes from, and get it from the highest quality sources you can get them from. Organic dairy in moderation, and grass-fed meats. And we're going to talk a little more about grass-fed meats in a few minutes. But that's a great observation. And so here, here the cheese provides the fat. Here, the avocado provides a monounsaturated, not saturated fat. Again, saturated fat, we need healthy fats, but in a good balance. So cheese is an easy opportunity, an easy way to kind of pull it out. If you want cheese in your day, I'd encourage you to have a high-quality, hard cheese, aged cheese, have it in moderation, enjoy it, rather than slapping a few extra slices on your sandwiches and on your eggs without thinking about it. And at the end of the day, you've had all this saturated fat that really isn't of the greatest quality. So
very good to know.
That's a great observation. Thanks. And we have another lunch for everyone to consider, because burritos are really popular. I love burritos. And they're available all over the place. And so I thought it was another nice example of a grabbing lunch someone might grab. White wrap. Beef is a filling with just some lettuce, some white rice, and shredded cheese. And even though it's tucked in there and you can't really see it, there's also sour cream. So that can be a typical choice. You just made a great point about cheese, so we talked about that. So here you've got kind of a double hit of shredded cheese, beef, and sour cream. So those are all saturated fats. And so again, because you want balance, white refined wrap, white rice, and tortilla chips. These are not some of the most flavor blasted ones available, but we all know what those are, and those are even less nourishing for us, even though your taste buds might like them. So here's one burrito. We have a couple others. This is, again, a burrito, but we switch it to a whole wheat wrap. You got the whole grain in there. Some chicken as opposed to the beef, so a little leaner. The rice is brown, and we have, instead of cheese, the guacamole is added in there. So you've got all the spice and flavor from the guacamole and the healthy fat, but you're kicking down the saturated fat, and then obviously sided with a nice green salad of any type with a lot of variety, if you have room for it. Burritos can be very filling.
That's for sure.
And the last burrito option is, again, whole wheat wrap. But here we've just replaced the animal products or the meat with black beans. Brown rice, guacamole provides our fat. And every vegetable you can squeeze in there, you squeeze in lettuce, tomato, onions, peppers, kick it up with some jalapenos or whatever you like. So you really get a big blast of vegetables, the fiber from the brown rice and the beans, the protein from the beans. and it's really filling. And, you know, some lovely piece of fruit as a nice side dish.
And the aroma is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, and it'll fill you up and keep you really going. And that's the best gauge of a meal. And as to whether it's really working for you is you got to be able to go 2 or 3 hours with great energy without being hungry or searching for something else to snack on right away. All right, ready for dinner or are you full?
I am ready.
Okay. All right, again, there are so many things we could do for dinner, so many. I was just trying to think of something that might be a very, you know, well-known restaurant quick kind of dish. And so good old spaghetti and meatballs. So again, it's a nice dinner. You know, hopefully you'd have it with some other vegetable on the side. Often we're going to find these out in restaurants. This bread will be loaded with all sorts of butter or butter type substance and cheese. So it's really high sodium and refined white bread and, you know, it's pretty intense.
Yeah.
White pasta and then meatballs and sauce. And that seems so basic if you made it all yourself in your kitchen. But often when we're out or using prepared foods, you got to think about what's in there too. So prepared sauces, often, again, if you just read and check, there's so many options. You can pick a much better option because many sauces have lots of sugar and lots of sodium. And there are plenty that have very little of both of those. So I really encourage everyone to, you know, take a moment and if you don't have time to make it yourself, and find the ingredients, the product with the ingredients that meet your standards. And then once you've done that homework, you know you can always choose it again. And meatballs are the same way. No matter what the combination of meats that are used, whether it's just a beef meatball or a combination of beef and veal and pork, what else goes in there are usually eggs, breadcrumbs, which are refined bread, Parmesan, which is lovely, and there's a lot on top as well. But it does bring along with it some saturated fat and sodium. So you've already got those in the meatball, and then typically we throw some more on there, and then probably there's some in your bread. And so,
as a shopper, I've noticed the sodium level of those sauces is incredibly high.
And there are many coming out now that are low sugar, low salt, no sugar. So it's great to read. Please read your ingredients. It's your best line of defense.
That's an excellent point there.
And so now we'll go to another option. Again, we have spaghetti and meat sauce. So we and of course you could make meatballs in a more health supporting way, but for the sake of example, what I've done here is we have a whole wheat pasta. And for those of you who say, oh, I tried whole wheat, or my family hates it, keep trying. A nice trick, not trick, but strategy is to blend the white, pasta with the whole wheat as you're sort of transitioning. But it does at least give you some nutrients if you can do it. And then here, by using a meat sauce, what I used here is a grass-fed ground beef, which is leaner naturally. And grass-fed meats are a source of a really health-supporting fat called omega-3s, which we don't get in non-grass-fed meats any longer because those animals are not fed grass, they're fed grain. And so the grass-fed meats provide us with these omega-3s, which we really need in our diet. We don't get enough of those, and that is definitely another much longer conversation. So happy to have it with anyone interested.
The whole wheat pasta, do you find it's a little chewier, a little tougher?
Well, I bet some of the folks watching us right now are saying yes, but I've eaten it so long now that I don't. And, it's interesting because even if you make white pasta, it's really recommended that you cook it al dente, as they say, which is where there is still a little chew to it, because then, again, it helps it not to digest quite so quickly. The white flours and refined flours are really like sugar in our body. They just digest with no effort. When you have a whole grain or something made with whole grains, our body has to work a little harder to break them down and digest them, and that gives us a more sustained energy as well as the nutrients that are in there. So I've grown accustomed. I'm sure at first it will seem different, but give it some time. So you've got the grass-fed meat on a sauce that either you can make at home or is one that you've chosen that's the low sodium and low sugar. And by doing the meat sauce, you're eliminating some of the fillers that are used in the meatballs. Put a few olives on there just because they're pretty and they're a nice whole food source of a little good fat. And of course, a green vegetable of your choice really balances it out. And again, you've got color. And lastly, again, the whole grain pasta with a, like a primavera. But the primavera full of vegetables is done with, again, a healthy red sauce, because you can do it in a creamy sauce, but this would be one that would be just a little better for you. And I've also gone a little lighter each time on the Parmesan, but you can you can add in spices you enjoy, and some people like things more spicy with some crushed red pepper, or, and any vegetables you like. There's no stopping the vegetables. Just to have vegetables, add them to anything and everything.
What would be some spices that you would recommend? Are we talking oregano, Italian spices?
Yeah, and fresh are even the best, but don't hesitate if you just have them on the shelf. Definitely oregano or basil, fresh in here, and then maybe a little crushed red pepper if you like a little kick to it and a little heat to it. Yeah, absolutely. And all those herbs, they seem small and rather insignificant, but they are all little powerhouses of antioxidants. They're green, and they all have good stuff for us in there. So they have a place on the plate. So again, just different ways to just make subtle changes to bring nourishment up in each of the meals, because each meal is an opportunity. And the focus is to think about how can I make the most choices in my day that are foods that are as close to the state of whole, the way they came to us in nature, as possible. And so if you think sort of this spectrum of whole foods and processed foods, how much of what you're eating in a day falls where on the spectrum? Is it more up toward mostly processed and some whole, or is it more whole? The goal is to more whole and some processed.
Well, when I looked at each meal that you've prepared, there was no doubting which one I'd like to sit down and eat.
Well, good.
It always looks the most appealing, the freshest. It just looks healthier. And
you recognize that, and your body does too. I just was somewhere about a week ago listening to someone else speak on food and nutrition, and they did a great job just kind of very simply explaining. She used kale, which I know a lot of people kind of get a little tired of hearing, but any dark green leafy vegetable. She said when you take that in your body, every cell in your body kind of goes, yay, this is good. And when you take in something like, the potato chip or the white pasta, it kind of goes, okay, I'm waiting. Where's the nutrients? And it sounds silly, but it's so true. It's so true. And
yet we all crave, the fried food or the...
do. And it doesn't mean you shouldn't have it. It's just how often do you have it? Is it your mainstay, or is it the exception? That's what really will help really boost your nutrition and your nourishment. I think that's the word I like best,
So we have to listen to the good voice.
Yeah, and I also encourage people to kind of avoid that good and bad. Good and bad just makes us feel guilty, I think. Just, focus on what really nourishes you. And we probably didn't get to talk much about drinks, but I do want to just take a moment to reinforce whatever the source, right from your tap, it doesn't matter, but water is all our body needs. So keep it as simple as you can. There's green drinks, and you can make smoothies, but water. That's what our body needs. Doesn't need any of the other stuff.
This is wonderful information just to start with.
I'm glad. So this is a variety. A strategy, just a few tips to kind of wrap things up. A strategy that is hard for some people in our busy lives is to nourish your body, you do need to get used to at least preparing your own food, even if it isn't cooking all of it. And, there's a lot of things out there to help us prepare our own food. Let's see, I think on the table we have some like these black beans of any type that are low sodium, and they're ready to go, or low sodium canned tomatoes, and we even have frozen cooked brown rice and frozen quinoa. So there's so much that you can do to keep it healthy and quick. And the last thing I just want to make sure everyone knows about is that we have a thank you and an opportunity for all of the viewers at Whole Foods. If you've watched the show today, Boomer Being today, and enjoyed it, or even if you didn't, you can stop by Whole Foods Andover and fill out a raffle ticket in our customer service booth, and we're going to have a drawing on April 10th for a winner, and the winner will receive a full meal makeover and all the ingredients to complete that. And we'll
That
have
is
some time to talk about
Wonderful.
nourishing yourself. So
Absolutely wonderful, Eileen.
we invite everyone to come and do that. Come see us.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thanks for having us.
And thanks for being with us on Boomer Being. See you next time.